Welcome back to Keeping the Charm in Charm City. I'm excited to have my friend on here today. Um, so we have Dr. Tammira Lucas, who is a visionary entrepreneur, an educator, and community advocate dedicated to creating opportunities for working families, especially moms, and aspiring business owners in Baltimore. She's the founder of The Cube, a groundbreaking co-working space designed to meet the unique needs of working moms and parents by providing a supportive environment for productivity and balance. Dr. Lucas also serves as a professor at Coppin State University, where she inspires and educates the next generation of leaders in business and entrepreneurship. Her commitment to empowering others extends to her nonprofit, Moms as Entrepreneurs, or May Academy, which provides training, resources, and mentorship to help mothers turn their dreams into reality. Recognized for her innovative vision and dedication to the community, Dr. Lucas is at the forefront of initiatives that empower families, revitalize Baltimore, and champion the city as a hub for entrepreneurial growth. I'm pumped to introduce you to my friend and fellow entrepreneur, mompreneur at that, Dr. Tammira Lucas.
I am excited to be here. I'm so proud of you. I'm so honored to be your friend and, to be part of this because I know how hard you worked on this and just all the amazing things that you do. And so I'm just happy to be here, Kiara. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so we start all these off the same way. So the first question is, when did you fall in love with the charm in Charm City?
Oh, I, that's funny. So I am born and raised in Baltimore. For a long time, Baltimore City was all that I knew, just because of, how I grew up, right? Even just traveling to Baltimore County sometimes was just a new space for me. But I think I fell in love, truly understood the charm that our city had and to understand the grit that it birthed and raised was I remember going to Cuba. And this was a time I think Cuba is kind of going into a little like they're modernizing some things in Cuba these days. But this was early on. We had literally just launched the Cube, so eight years ago. And I could navigate Cuba like easily, although I didn't speak no Spanish. And I felt comfortable because how my city raised me, right? Like I didn't have any type of fear or anything. I was just like, oh, I can do this. I have a sense of direction. And so that truly, I know it sounds kind of weird, but it made me really appreciate my city and just how it raised us to like have that grit and tenacity no matter where we are in the world.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I think when I think about for folks who are from Baltimore or regardless, like wherever someone's from, a lot of times when you're growing up, you don't fully appreciate your hometown, right? And
Mhm,
everyone, the first thing people think about is I'm going to go to college, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm getting up out of here, right?
mhm.
And you chose to stay. And so understanding kind of your journey, I'm sure you had a lot of different options, but like what about your upbringing in Baltimore really influenced your entrepreneurial journey and like how you've navigated being, I mean, because you got like 62 jobs, right?
That's
So how did it
actually
influence that?
uh, that's actually a good question. Growing up for me in West Baltimore specifically, and I'm talking about the real West Baltimore, like the true city. It was a space and place where you saw a lot of things going on at one time, but it was community, right? But you didn't see a lot of people following their dreams. And for me, I wanted to make sure that in all that I do, that I always lived a life fulfilled because I watched people around me not live a fulfilled life. And so it gave me the foundation to understand like life is much bigger than what's in front of me. And I know that if I can do it, if I can be an example that ultimately that the others behind me will see that they can do the same thing. It also made me want to invest in my city in different ways. And when I say invest, it's not financially, yes, but for me, the investment came in taking the things that I learned and my knowledge, as whether it was my education or my experience from my career, to embed it back into my community. We had a lot of entrepreneurs in our community where they were selling frozen cups, they were selling candy. I worked on a candy truck. Like a neighbor, my grandmother's neighbor owned a candy truck, which was like a corner store to us. And
Yeah.
I worked in it. And I mean, I really only wanted to work in it to get free snacks, but it really gave me hope that you can turn anything into something, right? And so that gave me the foundation of like, okay, I know I can make change in my community. How I do it, I had no clue how I would actually do that. Um, I never really wanted to work in corporate America because I'm a Capricorn and I don't, and I'm okay with that. I love that for myself, right? And so I would work in these places, and I would like literally see a problem on day one how something can be done differently. But as a young Black girl, no one wanted to hear my voice, right? And I was just like, yeah, this is not for me. I know that I can use my brain, my talents, my gifts to really do something for myself, for my family, and for my community. And so, me seeing the need and the holes in my community as I grew up, but also having that exposure to ownership in Black communities and and just understanding what a community means, was my foundation to say, I can do that and I can do it where I am also going to help others. So my moms is entrepreneurs, helping moms become entrepreneurs because we are the catalyst of our communities. More than half of the households in West Baltimore, where I grew up, were ran by single mothers living below the poverty level that had talent, that they turned into generating revenue, but they didn't understand that they were running a business. And I wanted to provide them an opportunity to say, no, I'm a business owner and I'm putting structure. That birthed the cube. I never thought that I would wake up and say, oh, I'm going to be a professor. That wasn't in nowhere near the vision that I had for myself. Um, and it was just an opportunity that was given to me, that I fell in love with because now I'm able to really educate the next generation of business leaders, community leaders, politicians. Like I have a hand in what our future looks like. And it was because of my professor at Coppin that gave me hopes that I can do all the things that I am doing today. And so I wear a lot of hats, but they all do tie into the same thing and was honestly birthed out of just a great foundation in my community.
Yeah, I love that. And I think when folks talk about Baltimore, right? A lot of times West Baltimore, now we're talking more and more about development of West Baltimore and entrepreneurship in West Baltimore, but for a while folks seem to overlook, from like a big picture perspective, West Baltimore and
Hmm.
all of the entrepreneurship that's over there, the grit. So many folks have come out of West Baltimore. I'm excited to see, how that continues to grow, to kind of level that playing field and give folks more opportunities to learn how much really comes out of West Baltimore, and specifically Coppin, right? So understanding Coppin, and how they have really invested into the neighborhood that they're in, and being really involved in like WNADA, the West North Avenue Development Authority,
Hmm.
and understanding the strength of Baltimore really impacts the strength of Coppin as a university. So I'm excited about what comes of all of the conversation out of West Baltimore right now.
Yeah, Coppin is definitely uniquely placed and it is becoming a true catalyst for the investment in West Baltimore, and I'm really excited to be a part of that, in multiple ways. Like I'm an Coppin alum, I'm an Coppin donor, and I'm a Coppin faculty member. And so, just being part of this nuance that's happening, that's truly going to impact the community where I grew up. Like, I grew up in walking distance from, and like, this is my community, which is why I am so hard on my students, because they need to understand, like, you have to represent us, you have to represent us very well.
Yeah. How do we I keep asking this question to different folks, so I think it's a good time to ask you, how do we retain the students at our HBCUs in Baltimore? So, you work with your professor at Coppin, so you're working directly with the students. What does Baltimore need to be doing to keep that talent here in Baltimore to invest and buy and, just be residents and stay and invest in the future of the city?
We have to have opportunity here for them. And opportunity is not just employment opportunity. They may want to grow business. They need resources to do that, and not just, we have a lot of support resources for entrepreneurs. We don't lack that. They need money. They need incentives for living here, for staying here, for building here. And they also need to have the capabilities of having a great social life. And I think that we forget a lot about the social aspect, and where we are housed in our community, in our community. I don't leave out the house that much these days, and I'm okay with that because I am much older than these students that I'm teaching. But what I do know, and I know this firsthand by working with them, is that they appreciate being able to go out and have fun, go out and build, go out and network. And so we have to build those type of environments for them, those safe environments that's going to help them collaborate. And we also have to build a culture where um, it is, hey, you're doing this, here's a resource. Hey, let's connect, let's build together, and be very intentional about it, right? So there's a whole rebrand in the sense of our culture that needs to happen. I do believe it can happen, but it really, people really have to be receptive of that.
No, I completely agree. Um, so let's talk about the cube, right? So you built the cube. You talked about kind of May being the foundation and growing from there. Tell us about the cube. What is it? What is it all about? And kind of where are you with it today?
Yeah, so the Cube is the largest Black women-owned co-working space in the United States that provide babysitting services. So we focus on making sure that parents don't have to choose their careers or their businesses over their families, and providing them a space where they can do both. And so we have office spaces, we have conference rooms, we have an event space, we have our on-site babysitting services. And so we have a lot, and we have a lot of programming here. We're going to have breakfast with Santa soon. We're having our live, our Growth Beyond Me with Morgan State University, where entrepreneurs can come and get free consulting services in different aspects of their business next week. Like, we do this once a month. And we're enhancing our programming for entrepreneurs, but as also for the community in itself. Like, we're hosting a college fair next month. These things are super important because it's not just centered around helping people build businesses. What are everything else you need as a family and as a community? We're opening our second location, which is down the street from our first location, that will enhance the services and programming that we are offering. So it'll have a cafe, it will have podcast, video, and photography studio. We have a social club called The Crib. You can join that now. You just gotta like slide in our DMs and ask for an invite. Um, so we'll have a lot of different things that we can. I don't want to say a lot because I don't want you all to think that we are all over the place. We're very intentional about a lot of things that we have, but it's really to really strengthen the community that we're already built in.
I love that. I don't know if you know this, but it might have been like might be like maybe 2017, 2018, maybe at y'all first location. I had Michaela over the summer. She was out of school. I was new, as first couple years of being full-time entrepreneur, and I was surely up in there. Michaela was in the babysitting room. And we went a couple times, and I, traveled to East Baltimore to get there. And we would go we went a couple times. over the summer, and I missed you every time, but I was that
Dang.
went, yeah. I went early on when you guys first opened and really was excited about the concept, right?
Yeah.
And understanding how challenging it is to not only be a mom who's an entrepreneur and about your business and hustling and trying to get things done, but also knowing that, we can't take off the mom hat to do that, right? And so having that kind of resource and babysitting specifically gives folks an opportunity to chase their dreams in
Yep.
a way that you don't typically see. Like it makes so much sense, but for whatever reason, right? That's not the norm. And so I'm sure you have tons of stories of how that's completely transformed things for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, once someone we've had a mom bring her first child at not I don't even think the child was 6 weeks. I'm sorry. She left to move to North Carolina. That's the only reason she left. She was on child number three, and she was a photographer. And she always say how we help her really grow her business because childcare is expensive, and so we have a unique model where it's not so expensive, and you are able to still invest in your business, invest in your career while being a mother. I don't think. I mean, we're going into a time in 2025 where women rights, women in itself, and our needs are probably going to be very overlooked, right? Childcare was a hot topic for this current administration. And I think that unfortunately is going to get lost and our services is going to be needed more than it probably has been needed I mean that it more than it has been in the past. Not that it hasn't been important, but I think people are really going to find and realize like I need a cost saving somewhere. And unfortunately my job is requiring me to show up in a ways that they didn't require me to show up, or a lot of people are going to lose jobs, unfortunately, because they are going to be required to go back to work. And so now they're going to have to figure something out and probably transition into careers for themselves. And so we're going to have to be there to support these parents, mainly these moms, in that transition. The fact that we have to bear kids, the fact that we have to raise kids, not that we don't have spouses, but there's a different just a different requirement from us as mothers. And then we have to deal with the burden of childcare. Like it's insane all of the things that we have to figure out as a mother. And so us being that resource to support along the way wasn't something that I knew I was going to do until I, became a mom and became an entrepreneur and saw the need and couldn't believe that no one tried to figure this out in a way that we were figuring it out when we did.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think, and that's what I really love about your story and your journey. It's all about, to me, like what I'm hearing, everything is about normalizing the challenges that you probably went through yourself and then opening the door for someone else to have less of a challenge, right? How do we take the things that
Absolutely.
we're going through?
I tell people all the time, I take all the punches so you don't have to. And that's a lot because it's a lot of punches I've had to take. But the fact of the matter is, like you said, um, we have so many of those challenges, and I try to use my journey and my story as a way to impact, right? I don't complain about the journey that I've had. I don't complain about the obstacles. I look at how can I find a solution for this? And if I'm having this problem, I'm pretty certain there are other people that are having this problem, especially when it's just in your face. And I realized a long time ago that my purpose in life has been to truly impact others through my journey and my story. That's a huge burden to take, but it's one that I ultimately appreciate because at the end of the day, I get to see the positive effects of that. Hearing your story of saying like, no, I utilize this space as well. You also enrolled Michaela in our entrepreneurship camp, right? And so to see how this space and this vision has impacted so many people is what fulfills me on a daily basis.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why you and I connect too, is because I think we vibe on that level, right?
Hmm.
Is we have been willing to take the road less traveled, right? Go and try to make things happen and bust through ceilings and kick down doors and do all those things to hold it open for the next person, and then still hold ourselves accountable to go to the next level and try something new and push the envelope that much further, which I think for me is why I have been big on I'm gonna go and show up to this new space. It sounds super cool. And
Hmm.
Michaela going to entrepreneurship camp, and when you guys were doing your raise, like, participating, because for me as a mom and as an entrepreneur and as a wife and all of those things, I think for me, it's just super important to support the people that I know I understand, at least at some level, that journey and how challenging that can be to really push things forward. And you're running all around doing all the things, and sometimes that can be overlooked.
No,
So
I
kudos.
appreciate that. And I think that as Black women, it's important for us to do that. And it's going to be even more important in the next 4 years that
Yeah.
we have each other's back, right? And that we figure out how to support each other authentically, um, and really be very intentional. I'm a person that I have boundaries. I really, really do. And I'm very protective of my space. And the moment that, I truly feel like you're not doing it for the right reasons, or you're just trying to get whatever it is that you can get out, I'm definitely not letting you in my space. But I think that as women and as Black women, it's truly important that we figure out the authentic way in supporting one another and making sure that through these next 4 years where everything is going to be against us, that we work together to make sure that we see the light at the end of the tunnel together. I appreciate, you supporting me, the work that we do, anybody that we partner with, I appreciate that. And, I too look forward to figuring out ways. We were just having a conversation about how I didn't get a chance to come to Michaela's, play. And I authentically mean that, right? Like this is a village. I want you to be able to say, sis, can't pick Michaela up today. I know you are by. Can you do that? That is
Right.
community. That is what I was rooted in Baltimore, right? Everybody knew each other in the community, and you didn't have to worry about, you know, your child doing anything, because if you saw my child doing something, you grab her, you correct her. And
Handle it.
I'm a double like back on that, right? But I knew that somebody had my back and somebody was supporting us. And I think it's important for individuals like you and I to bring that back. And that's
Yes.
how you truly make the charm in Charm City, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And what you said actually struck a chord with me, because I've been thinking about how with those boundaries, I'm very, very tight with who and where I'm spending my time. And sometimes people, to your point, don't have the right intentions and just kind of want to take. And a lot of times I ain't got nothing left for you. And so wanting to be intentional, thinking about 2025, about how to expand the community with thoughtfully, but expand the
Hmm.
community of just Black women, particularly in Baltimore, where there's groups of us that will connect every once in a while, or we'll text and check in with each other, but there's a lot of people who want and need um community, right? And so I'm sure, and this will probably be what we talk about later, I had another thing to do.
No, I was
But
about to say, I
how do
already know
we
what we're
as
going to do.
Black women in Baltimore
We
build that?
we are going to have a sisters meeting, and we calling all Black women to the floor. Like we gotta get our stuff together, and we doing that at the beginning of the year. Don't worry, I got you. I'm planning it. I just need you to show up and be ready.
I stay ready. We can go. Well, got the queue. We got 2 locations, so
Yep.
we got plenty of space. But to bring folks together, we need to have a positive reason to come together, support each other, uplift each other, put each other on, and hold each other accountable. So I'm big on that. I love that. Um, so um, what would you like to see happen in Baltimore? So we talk about women specifically, but what would you like to see happen in Baltimore to further support small business owners and working families? How do we take what you started with the Cube and expand it that much further?
That's a really good question. I think what I would like to really see a lot more of is just us building like those that support community around the small businesses, right? And I would like to see our city truly invest in small businesses financially, giving those incentives for people to start, scale, and grow businesses on a consistent basis. I think we forget how and it's always at the forefront that capital is an issue. But if we want to ask people to come here, we gotta, and stay here, we have to give them an incentive to do so, and really figure out how to support our small businesses, making sure, I know with the coffee shop, there's a coffee shop down the street and I need to, be intentional about going there versus going to Starbucks or, there's a gift shop down the street, making sure I'm purchasing, at least one item, like being just us figuring out how to bring that community back around our small businesses. I grew up walking down Pennsylvania Avenue, shopping the small businesses on Pennsylvania Avenue that were some were really owned by my community members, and if they weren't owned by my community members, then we were working inside of these spaces, and so we had a lot of respect for our communities. We had a lot of respect for our businesses, and I just want to see us bring that culture back.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have to do that, right? So I think, obviously a lot of people what we talk about the most obviously is real estate, right? And so one of the things I've been talking a lot about is we have to give folks a reason to come here. We have to change the narrative on Baltimore. We have to make sure folks have a reason to come here, but to make sure they have jobs, right? Small businesses help to spur a lot of that, right? And so as we have all of this funding coming here for real estate and development, understand the need for funding for
Yep.
businesses as well is super important to have this holistic strategy to really accomplish raising the population in Baltimore which is the bottom line. West Baltimore, I see them doing that well, right? We talked about Winata a little bit before, but what are we doing across the city? And it
Yeah.
can't just be somebody who knows somebody that tells you to do an application. It has to be a more concerted effort.
Yeah, and it has to be consistent. Like you said, that word holistic is important, right? Grocery stores and I think it's important to I understand diversifying like the type of businesses that that come to the community. But I think what we lack, and our governor says this, like we have resources, but we lack strategy. And, we just got to really strategize holistically. Think about what our community members actually need in order to survive and not just survive, but to thrive. Because when you do that, then you can reduce blight, you can reduce crime, you can reduce stress, you can reduce health issues, right? All of that is correlated with one another. And so we don't lack the people that have the capabilities to build a strategy. We just need to be on one accord and execute accordingly, right? No, I'm not going to be mad that there's a Starbucks, in a community, but we also need to make sure that if you desire to open up your own coffee shop, that that's there too, and it's well supported as well. Because Starbucks has a brand, they already have brand loyalty, brand identity. But there are people that would say, no, I prefer to go to a local coffee shop and sit in the local coffee shop, right? Um, yeah, you may bring a big grocery store, but don't forget about our farmers and our community farmers and how that grocery store can actually support the farmers, right? Like, let's start making the direct integration so that everyone feels like they are part of the community. If I'm a farmer and I have a local farm inside of my community, yeah. let me grow some of the things and then, sell it in your grocery store. Let me have a pot. We got to think about this. And I think for me, I'm so selfless in a way. Like, I don't get excited about money. Like, money and material things don't excite me. It's seeing people thrive. It's seeing my community thrive. It's seeing people happy. And the way that you get to happiness is inclusion and not exclusion. And so when you include people in the strategy that, and then let them help you execute, then we can be happy because we're all part of the same common goal.
Right, right. And that's critical. All of that is so critical to how Baltimore grows, right? And how the strategy for development in Baltimore and integrating those legacy residents and community and being, respectful of the culture of the neighborhood. That's why all that's important, because we have, in my opinion, the opportunity to change the narrative on what it looks like for a city like Baltimore, a Black
Hmm.
city, right? A city that is the birthplace of redlining, all of those things. We have the opportunity to change the narrative on what it looks like for Baltimore to develop and to
Yep.
grow and to, be intentional about integrating, that growth with the communities that are already there, because they're charming in and of itself, right?
Yep.
We're just enhancing what's already there. And so kind of coming in and thinking that we all have all the answers without really engaging the community and the neighborhood and everyone who's on the ground to ask them what they need, or who's the entrepreneur in the neighborhood and how do we support that. Like, that's how we get this work done the right way, at least.
100% agree with you. Couldn't agree better.
So where do you see the cube in the next 5 years?
We are definitely going to have several locations across the United States. Um, I won't say like we're going to spread like wildfire in the 5 years because I'm very strategic about how we grow. But I do want to, once our second location is up and running and ready, that we build a franchise model and kind of go from there. So that's what I kind of see it in the next 5 years, and just impacting and really changing the narrative around childcare and the resources around childcare.
I'm excited for that. I can't wait. I'm so
Thank you.
excited. I know that means if you're saying, I know you got some stuff in the works already. So I'm I'm excited for all the above. Um and so our final question, what are you most proud of when you think about how you've been able to keep the charm in Charm City?
Oh my goodness. Um, I am proud of the personal brand that I've been able to create that was birthed out of my city. Everyone knows if you don't want to hear the truth about anything, don't call me because I'm going to give you the truth. But I'm also going to advocate for my city. I'm going to advocate for my HBCUs that are here, Morgan and Coppin, although I'm going to favor one over the other. Um, and I'm going to advocate for Black women entrepreneurs and Black women, period. And so I feel so proud when people say, "Oh, I'm new here, but everyone told me I need to contact you." And I'm like, "Oh, they did, right?" And so at first it used to be overwhelming, but I'm proud. When we were away in this following weekend, we at Afrotech, it was the Merlin Collective, and I try to make sure that I push other people in the forefront because everyone truly knows that I don't really like to be in the limelight, but I will accept it, right? But it was good to see that people truly respect the work that I've been able to do and respect the impact that I've been able to have for our city. So I'm proud of that. I'm most proud of that.
I love that. Well, I'm proud of you. I thank you
Yeah.
so much, friend, for all that you do, seen and unseen.
Thank
And I thank
you.
you for joining me today.
Thank you so much. I'm proud of you. You know how much I'm proud. I can't even say enough how I'm proud of you. And I love you very much. And we'll do lunch very soon. I know the podcast, people don't want to hear this on podcast, but we get lunch soon, so
Yes, we are. We are. Last time, one of the times we linked up, you had me sweating, working out at fighting
we go
for
we,
my life.
we go
So
back.
I'd much rather eat.
We go back.
Thank you, Dr. Lucas,
You're
and we
welcome.
will see
Thank
you
you.
all next time.
See you guys.